Welcome back, everyone. We're picking up right where we left off,
Oh,
with fire and a mystery and that pervasive sense of what the heck just happened that the X-Files always nails.
it does, doesn't it? It's that blend of science fiction, conspiracy, and just a hint of the supernatural that keeps pulling us back in. Today, we're diving deep into The Blessing Way, the first episode of the third season.
Okay, so we're talking about the immediate aftermath of that explosive Season 2 finale. Anasazi, remember? We saw that boxcar engulfed in flames, the smoking man amidst the chaos, and of course, the big question, what happened to Mulder?
Exactly. And The Blessing Way doesn't waste any time in ramping up the tension even further. We immediately see the brutal search for Mulder and that digital tape.
Right, the men in black, they're like shadows, and their desperation is palpable. They're tearing apart Albert Hostein's home, even resorting to violence against his family. Talk about a harsh reminder of the human cost of these secrets.
It's a chilling opening sequence for sure. And while all that's happening, Scully's being hunted by that black helicopter. You know, the one that always seems to appear when things are about to get really bad.
Oh yeah, that helicopter. It just screams danger, doesn't it? And even though Scully manages to get those printed translations of the tape into safe hands, the original digital tape is still out there. And remember, she's convinced Mulder has it.
Which of course makes her a target. And the tension just keeps building with her suspension from the FBI. That scene where she has to surrender her badge and gun is so powerful. It's like they're stripping away her identity, her authority.
Absolutely. But there's this sense that it only makes her more determined. And when it's revealed that the tape is missing from Mulder's office, well, the mystery just gets deeper. But remember the Syndicate. They aren't just sitting back and watching.
Oh no, not at all. We see them grilling the smoking man about the missing tape. And even he seems nervous. It shows just how much is at stake here. This tape, it could unravel their entire operation.
So where is Mulder? Let's talk about that, because there's this incredible moment of hope.
Yes. He's not lost in the flames after all. When they find him, badly wounded near the boxcar, it shifts the entire narrative. And that's where we're introduced to the Blessing Way, this fascinating Navajo healing ritual.
This is where the episode takes a really interesting turn. It's not just about science and conspiracies anymore. It delves into something more mystical, more spiritual. And what I find fascinating is that the writers actually grounded this aspect in genuine Navajo tradition.
I agree. It adds a layer of authenticity to the storytelling. And it's really beautiful how Albert Hostein guides Mulder through the sweat lodge, trying to heal not just his physical wounds, but also his spirit.
It's like the show was exploring different ways of understanding truth and healing. It's not just about logic and evidence anymore. There's this sense that there are forces at play that we can't fully comprehend.
And it's during this ritual that Mulder has those incredible dream visions, right? His father appears, obviously troubled by the choices he's made. And then we see Deep Throat again.
Deep Throat? Wait, I thought he was gone.
Right. He supposedly died back in season 1. But here he is, urging Mulder to continue his search for the truth. It's like a message from beyond the grave. And it sets a precedent for future episodes where we'll see Deep Throat appear in these kind of spectral, almost dreamlike ways.
It's as if the show is telling us that even in death, these figures, these mentors, they continue to influence Mulder's journey. But while Mulder is going through this intense internal struggle, Scully's back in Washington, facing very real external threats.
Yeah, Frohike shows up with that newspaper article about Kenneth Suna's death. At first glance, it seems like a small detail, but for Scully, it's a major clue. The timing of Suna's death right after Mulder vanishes, it's just too suspicious to ignore.
And then there's that really weird moment with the metal detector at FBI headquarters. It just goes off when Scully walks through, but she isn't carrying anything metal. It's like this subtle hint that something's wrong, that something's been done to her without her knowledge.
And that leads her to Skinner. Remember, she's trying to clear Mulder's name. She thinks there might be a connection between Suna and everything that's happening. But Skinner, he refuses to help. He says there's nothing he can do.
And all the while, the smoking man is watching them. Skinner's trapped, caught between his duty and the Syndicate's influence. But Scully, she's not giving up. She becomes obsessed with that metal detector incident. And that leads to a truly shocking discovery: the metal implant in her neck.
Oh, that scene is chilling. It's the first real proof that Scully was abducted, that something was done to her against her will. And the fact that she has no memory of it just makes it even more disturbing. It's this tiny object, but it becomes a huge part of the X-Files mythology going forward.
You can understand why she wants answers. So she tries hypnotherapy to recover those lost memories of her abduction. But it's too much for her. The fear, the potential of what she might uncover, it forces her to stop. She just can't face it at that point.
It really highlights the trauma she's going through. But just when you think things can't get any more complicated, we meet the well-manicured man. And there's something about him that's both charming and terrifying. He's a different kind of villain, right?
Definitely. He's not a brute like the smoking man. He's more intellectual, more calculated, and his warning to Scully that her life is in danger, that someone she knows might be involved, it just adds another layer of paranoia to the whole situation.
He's a fascinating character, a puppet master working behind the scenes. But in the midst of all this chaos, there are these moments of real human connection. Scully attends Bill Mulder's funeral, and we see her comforting Tina Mulder. It's a reminder of the personal toll that this conspiracy is taking on everyone involved.
And then Melissa Scully comes back to offer her sister support. It's a brief moment of comfort, but looking back, knowing what happens later, it's just heartbreaking. And remember that scene where it looks like Skinner is leaving Scully's apartment? He denies it, but it only adds to the suspicion surrounding him.
It's like everyone has secrets, everyone has something to hide. And Mulder, despite being incredibly weak, is still searching for answers. He confronts his mother about that old photo of his father with the syndicate, and you can see how much it pains him to realize that his father might have been involved in all of this.
And then the episode takes this devastating turn. Melissa Scully is shot and killed. It's a case of mistaken identity, but it's a brutal reminder that the conspiracy has no boundaries. It will reach out and destroy innocent lives without a second thought.
It's a gut-wrenching moment, and it leads to that incredibly tense confrontation between Scully and Skinner. She holds him at gunpoint, convinced that he's betrayed her, that he's responsible for everything that's happened. It's a raw, emotional scene, and you can see how much pain and anger she's carrying.
And then just when you think it can't get any more intense, Skinner reveals that he has the digital tape. Talk about a game changer. But as the episode ends, we're left with another classic X-Files cliffhanger. Someone's at the door, and the distraction allows Skinner to pull his gun. And that's how it ends. Just like that.
It's brilliant. It leaves you completely on edge, desperate to know what happens next. But before we move on, let's take a moment to appreciate the complexity of The Blessing Way. It's not just a thriller. It raises some profound questions about identity, trust, and the nature of truth itself.
Definitely. And that cryptic message from Deep Throat's vision, "We are not who we are," it's become one of the most debated lines in X-Files history. What are your thoughts on it?
It's so open to interpretation, isn't it? It could be about clones, shapeshifters, or maybe something even deeper. It suggests that everything we think we know about ourselves, about the world, could be a lie. It's that classic X-Files paranoia taken to a whole new level.
And the relationship between Mulder, Scully, and Skinner, it becomes even more complicated in this episode. Scully's trust in Skinner is completely shattered. She's questioning everything. And frankly, so are we as viewers.
Exactly. And then there's the impact on Mulder's family. His mother's potential suicide attempt after learning the truth about his father. It's a really dark element. It shows just how far the conspiracy reaches. It affects everyone, even those on the periphery.
And the episode also marks a shift in the show's tone. It leans more heavily into the mystical and spiritual elements, particularly with Mulder's healing through the Blessing Way. It was a bold move, and it definitely sparked some debate among fans.
I remember some people loved it. They felt it added a new dimension to the show, exploring different ways of understanding the unknown. Others felt it was a departure from the more grounded scientific approach of the earlier seasons. But it certainly generated conversation, which I think is a sign of good storytelling.
Absolutely. It's always fascinating to peek behind the curtain and see how these episodes were made. It's interesting to hear that Chris Carter, the show's creator, considered The Blessing Way one of his favorites. And the fact that it was inspired, at least in part, by his own experience of losing a parent, I think that adds a layer of emotional depth to the episode.
I agree. And can you imagine the pressure the writers were under after that cliffhanger in Anasazi? They had to resolve it in a way that was satisfying, but also set up the next chapter of the story. Frank Spotnitz, one of the writers, has talked about his initial nervousness about the more mystical aspects of the episode. But he also said he was excited to see Scully's story develop in this new direction.
I love those little behind-the-scenes tidbits. It humanizes the whole creative process. And did you know that Chris Carter actually went to great lengths to make sure the Navajo chants and rituals were portrayed accurately? He even hired a traditional sand painter who spent an entire day creating those intricate designs for the Blessing Way ceremony.
That's dedication to detail. And remember those sweeping desert landscapes? Well, it turns out they actually filmed those in Canada. They used red filters and dust machines to create the illusion of a desert environment. Pretty clever, right?
The magic of television and the visual effects for Mulder's vision sequences were groundbreaking for their time. It must have been incredibly challenging to bring his father and Deep Throat together in a way that felt both real and ethereal. It's a testament to the talent of the visual effects team.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the episode's dedication to Larry Wells, one of the show's costume designers. It's a touching reminder of the collaborative nature of filmmaking and the people behind the scenes who bring these stories to life.
Even the music in this episode signals a shift in tone. Mark Snow, the show's composer, subtly changed the piano melody of the opening theme for the third season. It's a small detail, but it adds to the overall sense of unease and mystery. And of course, The Blessing Way was a huge hit with viewers. It was the most watched episode of the entire season, which is a testament to the enduring power of The X-Files.
It really captured the imagination of the audience, even though the critical reception was a bit mixed. Some reviewers praised the mythology development, while others felt that the mystical elements were a step too far. But I think that diversity of opinions just shows how thought-provoking the episode was. It pushed boundaries and challenged expectations.
And it's interesting to hear how different the actors and the writers' perspectives on the episode were. David Duchovny, who plays Mulder, has said that he was a bit disappointed with his limited role in The Blessing Way. But Chris Carter has defended the decision, arguing that it was important to shift the focus to Scully and explore her journey in this crucial chapter of the story.
I think it was a smart move. It allowed Scully to step out of Mulder's shadow and become a truly compelling character in her own right. So, to wrap things up, The Blessing Way is more than just an episode. It's a turning point in the X-Files saga. It picks up the pieces from Anasazi and sets the stage for the even bigger conspiracies and revelations to come in Paperclip and beyond.
It's an episode that leaves you with more questions than answers, but that's part of its brilliance. It keeps you thinking, keeps you theorizing, and keeps you coming back for more.
And as we move forward, let's keep those key themes in mind. The nature of identity, the question of trust, and of course that unsettling idea that we may not be who we think we are.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into The Blessing Way. We'll be back soon to explore the next chapter in the X-Files saga.